Kansas City had a very good 2022 draft. They got George Karlaftis, Brian Cook, Leo Chanel, Trent McDuffie's a star at corner, Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. And, I mean, Karlaftis was such a good pick at 30th that only one other player in that first round has had more sacks, the number 1 pick, Aiden Hutchinson of Detroit. So they had a great draft. And if you go to Philadelphia and you look at the Eagles' last 2 drafts, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, who took a while to get it right, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, 2 drafts. They went from one of the oldest teams in the league last year, 6th oldest, to 3rd youngest team in the league this year, Philadelphia. So unlike baseball, where you can buy championships, or at least buy relevance and wins, or, you know, in the NBA, where there's a kind of a reality that if you get 1 or 2 players, foundationally, you'll be viable. And also in the NBA, draft picks are a little like croutons in your salad. They're kind of in the way. You know they're there. You have 1 or 2, but they don't really matter. You can give them away. In the NFL, this thing is still built on the draft. Free agency in the NFL is kind of for suckers. Most of the good teams wait 3 or 4 days in to get value. You start looking at the Eagles, and you start looking at the Rams, who we were told were on a rebuild 2 years ago and started winning playoff games. It's all foundational. It's all draft. And when I started this business years ago, I had a friend, he goes, I don't even like the draft, but he goes, you talk about it so much that now I'm kind of interested. And I said, it doesn't matter in the NBA. I mean, the Lakers are giving away draft picks, and there's not a single person in LA that goes, I can't believe you gave away that conditional 1st-round pick. Nobody cares. They don't care. And in baseball, I mean, the Pirates are the Yankees farm system. Nobody cares. In the NFL, doesn't matter your market size. Go look at the Chiefs' 2022 draft, as they had to pay Mahomes big money. Go look at the Eagles. They're paying Jalen Hurts. How are the Eagles able to pay A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts? How are they able to pay all these guys? Darius Slay. Because they had back-to-back draft classes where they got stars at virtually every unit. And I think that's what separates it. It's one of my mantras has always been, in the NFL, it all starts upstairs. Like, I had a general manager in the NFL who was talking about Buffalo after they lost to Kansas City, and I had a discussion with him about a week and a half ago, and he said, you know, the truth is, Kansas City has a much better roster than Buffalo. He goes, you think Josh Allen elevates people? He goes, James Cook is great, Josh Allen's great. They got a couple of defensive players we like, one the corner who had the concussion stuff. He goes, Kansas City's got just better players. He goes, the difference between the Bills upstairs and the Chiefs upstairs is greater than people think. Josh Allen just fools you into believing Buffalo should beat him. But when you watch that game, who made all the big plays? It was the Kansas City guys.
Okay. Let's focus on the Eagles versus Chiefs, okay? This is actually pretty funny because literally a few years ago, Colin was praising the Rams for just like not caring about the draft and how they were just going all in and they were getting rid of their draft picks and they were getting free agents and all this type of stuff. You know, Von Miller, OBJ, Matthew Stafford, like all of that type of stuff. And then they won the Super Bowl. And it was like, that's how smart they are. That's how smart they are. You know, so not to mention the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, they absolutely have had an amazing draft and Howie Roseman is amazing. But like, you know, A.J. Brown, free agent or trade, excuse me, you know, essentially non-draft, you know, drafted players, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, you know, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you know, Bond, Mekhi Becton. I mean, like there's I'm sure I'm missing other players, but you know, I think obviously you need to draft well and you need to know how to navigate free agency, because the Eagles would not be here if they did not go after and make, you know, make the moves to get AJ, to get you know, any of the acquisitions that they made, quite frankly. So it's both. You need both. And you definitely need cheap players in the draft as well. So I don't think it's necessarily an either or thing. You know, aren't the Chiefs in a significantly better spot because they went out and got DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown? Like, you know, like, come on, like, It's a combination. They went out and got, I forget whoever, I think on their O line or their D line, I forget now, whatever his name is. All these names are starting to mesh together the more we keep talking about everyone. So it's more than that. I think also what's very underrated is creating an environment and a team that players want to play there. I think that is such an underappreciated thing. And I've said this a lot over the months, is that, and this is true for the Kansas City Chiefs too, by the way. But people want, I mean, it's obvious that people are going to want to play with Kansas City because obviously they keep winning and all of that, and so you have a chance at a ring. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they obviously win, but it's not like they're this ring farm like what the Kansas City Chiefs have been. So the fact that so many players want to be in Philadelphia says a lot. CJ Gardner-Johnson was like legitimately said, he admitted that like publicly, like I was just in my feelings. I did not want to leave Philly. I want to be in Philly. I mean, like players want to be in Philly. Saquon Barkley wants to be in Philly. AJ Brown, Devontae. I mean, again, look at all the other teams that are dealing with these contracts where it's just kind of, CD Lamb in Dallas, Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, and it's all on a spectrum because some of those were a little bit easier disputes, but there's still tension, especially T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And then look at the Eagles. They just quietly signed AJ Brown and Devontae like it was nothing. They just went out and got Saquon. And they want to be there. They're excited to be there. They love the fans. It's so crazy to me that Philadelphia Eagles fans like get such a bad rep, but yet the players love them. And yeah, sometimes it could be contentious. Lane Johnson and Kelsey themselves have talked about it, but they love those fans more than anything. Like more than anything. I mean, when Zach Ertz got traded, like he was in tears, and he was playing. At that point, the Philadelphia Eagles were a bad team. They were going nowhere fast, and then he got traded to the Arizona Cardinals, who at that time were undefeated or had one loss. They were like 8-1, 8-0, whatever it was. And at that time, Kyler Murray was like his star. He was a rising star. Cliff Kingsbury, a rising star. Like that team, people were like that team, are Super Bowl contenders. So he got traded instantly to a top contender in the NFL, and yet he was still in tears. Like he didn't want to leave, and he's still upset by it. He got caught on that, not a hot mic, but where they was talking, he was just like, man, like I wish I was with you guys. Even when he was with the Commanders, like he wants to be in Philly. And that's consistently. Terrell Owens came out and said, he was on some radio show, and they were like, what fans do you like better, the 49ers or the Cowboys? And he's like, this is going to be unpopular, but like, because I think he was on like a 49ers radio show, and he was like, it's the Eagles. And they were like, what? They were like stunned by him giving that answer. And he's like, yeah, man, the Philadelphia Eagles fans have always treated me the best. They're amazing. And so it's the fans, it's the culture, it's the city, it's the passion, it's the intensity. And yeah, the fans can be tough. Yeah, they hold their players and ownership and all of that. They hold their feet to the fire. But also go watch that Bryce, I almost said Bryce Young, Bryce Harper clip where he talked about how badly he wanted to win a World Series for this city. He was literally like choking back tears where he's like, I want this for this city so badly. So badly. And that's a guy whose net worth is like, $700 million. I mean, like, seriously, it's just like they making just insane amounts of money. And he signed like a 13-year, gajillion-dollar contract. He's like, I don't, and no trade clause too. He's just like, no trade clause. Like he was just like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm in it. Like I want to be here. I just want to be here. I'm not trying to play games. I'm not trying to be like, I'll be here for a little bit. Then I just want to be here, man. Like, let's go. And it's just like, it's awesome. Players consistently choose Philly. Coaches, Fangio, he desperately wanted to go to Philadelphia. Desperately. But because of the way how things unfolded, he couldn't, and then he had to go to Miami. And then as soon as that was over, he's like, boom, going to Philly. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing that really only, people who just want to hate on Philly for the sake of hating on Philly, they act like it's not there. But this has been consistent for decades for multiple sports. Like, it's not just even football, it's multiple sports, multiple, iterations of these teams, of the Eagles themselves. And that matters. That legitimately matters. It really, really does. And anytime there's one of those outliers, anytime you have one of those players who are looking for like more money or looking to be difficult, the Eagles really do just kind of casually move on from them. And they're like, okay, if you don't want to be here, that's all good. And they're always better for it. They're always better for it. And I just, even something like a Jason Kelsey, like, I mean, like he literally helped with his replacement, I mean, he did everything to work with drafting and developing. It's because he just absolutely loves Philadelphia and the Eagles. Like, it's his family, it's everything to him. His O-line coach is like a father figure. And I just think that stuff that stuff matters, because you play extra hard, you're connected. I mean, playing professional sports is a grind, man. Just playing for like any type of really competitive sports, even if you don't make it to the pros, like it's a grind, and you spend so much time with with the other players, with the coaching staff. You're traveling, and you have so many moments that have nothing to do with sports at all. Nothing. In fact, there's so many times that you are on the sideline and you're talking about like, I mean, like, who knows what? It could literally be about anything. It could be about what type of underwear you like, because the other underwear that you've been buying is itchy. It could be about anything. And you got to enjoy where you are. You got to enjoy the people around you. It just makes everything better. And you can look at other teams and you can see that they lack that. You see the Cincinnati Bengals. Are people saying like, man, I'm so sad that I'm leaving Cincinnati? Like, no one's saying that. No one's saying that about Cleveland. No one's saying that about the New York Giants. No one's saying that, even in this day and age, no one's even saying that about the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe once upon a time, but not anymore. Not anymore. Unless they have like, like they're from the area. But like majority of the teams, people aren't like, God, I just want to be in Jacksonville, man. I just want to be in Jacksonville. Not even LA. Rams. I mean, because it's even like California. Like you don't even get that benefit. And again, the Kansas City Chiefs have that more than anything now, because they keep winning. You have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Spags. So no matter what side of the ball you're on, like, you're going to be put in a position to succeed, and you're going to be in a position to potentially get a ring. So it's not that difficult to acquire, people that want to be there. So that's why it's even more impressive to me that the Eagles continue to have that. Because it's like, obviously you also get put in positions to win, but it's not like, it's not like they've won 4 Super Bowls in the last 7 years here. So I think that is a significantly under-discussed reason for the excellence of both these teams, if they even if they kind of go about it differently, or the reasons are different in terms of like why players want to be there, and it's more than just the draft. It's more than just free agency, like, because again, we saw the Rams do it the opposite way. Now the Rams have to do it through the draft. Like things just change. Things just change. And again, I specifically remember Colin just praising the new way to do it in the NFL is just to like go out. Who needs picks? There's no guarantee. Like, I mean, he had a whole segment about it, like 20% of draft picks go nowhere, and it's just like, but guarantee. Because then he even praised Howie Roseman for going out and getting AJ Brown, because he was like, Howie Roseman's not that great at drafting wide receivers, so he was smart and went out and bought one. And it's like there is no binary like all or nothing way of necessarily building a team. Obviously, like football, unlike baseball, you can't just go out and just buy all the players that you want, right? That's obviously real. And so I do think football has a great balance of being able to make some moves at the trade deadline, offseason, free agency, obviously draft. Like I do think the NFL as a whole have a pretty good balance of this. And on one side, some of basketball, like basketball recently, what happened with like Luka and Jimmy Butler and some of these other players, like having these big trades. In a way, I kind of like that football doesn't rely on that. It'd be kind of jarring if in the middle of the season, Jamar Chase gets traded to the whoever's. Like, on one side, that could be interesting. That could be fun. On the other side, I think it's kind of cool to, like, for the most part, 9 out of 10 times, these players are pretty set where they are. It's very rare do you see like a truly special player being traded during the season or whatnot. It just doesn't happen. But that would be interesting if the NFL ever got there, where like quarterbacks like are being traded like mid-season or something, like Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff are getting traded to each other, getting a swap like in October or something like that would be kind of wild and could be kind of interesting. But I think the balance of where this all lies is pretty cool. And I do think at this point the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs are the gold standards for how to create an environment and a team where players want to be. They're taking two different directions of getting there, but still that's clearly, from my viewpoint, a major aspect of it all. And it's no surprise that these two teams have essentially been the most successful teams for the last 7 years or so. It makes sense. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs? Is it clear that these are the two best rosters, even though Colin did not actually address that or really answer that? But I'm just curious, why do you think these teams are constantly top? Besides the obvious, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, like I'm just curious if you buy into any of the things that I was kind of talking about like culture, players wanting to be there, et cetera, or is it just savvy GMs who just know how to build teams? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I'm going to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.